Hello everybody and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. FPL, my name's Suj.
My name is James.
Football, FPL. And so we are now wrapped up with Game Week 30, which means there's only 8 weeks to go. Over 3/4 of the way through the season.
You're testing my maths now, but yeah,
we
must very much be so.
And 30. And we both free hitted this week in a blank game week that ended up possibly being one of the most disparate weeks in terms of people with really low scores and then free hitters actually ending up with really good scores. Let's be honest. Like if I got 79 in any regular week, I think I'd be happy with that, to be honest with you. So it's been one of them. A quiet week with only 4 games, but a very interesting FPL week.
Not every free hit has been successful, and there's plenty of people who didn't use the free hit who've still had great game weeks. There's a bit of debate in terms of whether it was worth it, whether it wasn't. I think
it's definitely worth it.
Well, I think for me and you, with the scores that we've returned, yes, it does feel like it's been worth it. I mean, it's certainly got me an extra 25 points or so. And I think possibly even more for yourself, actually.
Well, I only had 3 players. Ben Johnson, Son and Kulu. So.
Oh, right. It's been worth about 50 for you, hasn't it? So, yeah. No regrets on that. It was always part of the plan to go this way. I think it did need things to fall into place, Suj, like Kane and Son both doing the business, because a lot of people had just Harry or just had Sonny. A little bit from the Leicester guys. You had Maddison, you had Harvey Barnes. A little bit of something of Wolves that nobody else would have had. You and I both ended up with Johnny.
Yep.
A lot of people, in terms of their Arsenal defensive coverage, just have Ramsdale. You and I both have Kieran Tierney. So there was a lot of things that had to fall into place. Plus, there was people who'd obviously run through who I've seen a couple of teams this week who were set for 11 without free hit and have still only ended up with 5 or 6 players.
Wow.
Kilman, Rafinha, Ramsdale, and then.
So your game week rank, I'm just looking 200k. Mine was 56k. So 5 points has made 200,000 place difference, which is tight up there. It makes me feel like a lot of people are bunched together with their free hit in that 72 to let's say 80 point bracket, because a lot of the players will have been the same. But it was one of those that started well, Johnny scoring, thinking, right, Quid's in here. Wolves keeping a clean sheet. Johnny scoring, 2-0 up, cruise control, Wolves see this out. I've got Sar's points coming in. I've got Johnny's points coming in. I've got Jimenez's points. Well, even the 2-pointer, I'll take it right now. And then the wheels come off the bus. Arsenal was as expected. I did think Villa would score, but Arsenal as expected. But Ramsdale didn't play. Which many non-free hitters would have had as a goalkeeper to see them through.
Like nobody had a goalkeeper return this week, because Leno's ownership is nothing. Right? And he's the only one to keep a clean sheet.
So I couldn't really get hurt with Arsenal defensive massively there with Ramsdale from the non-free hitters, let's say. Saka scores, good goal as well, good finish. I didn't own him pre-free hit, but a lot of people will have done, so I kind of covered myself off there against the non-free hitters. And then obviously Leicester did okay. I only had Pereira like you from a defensive point of view, but there's others that have gambled on Justin or another. The clean sheet wipeout there, suddenly, all right, nice. And even the Spurs West Ham game, like Kane and Son, most people will be on. But people went defensive on Spurs as well.
Massive.
So the wipeout of the clean sheet there suddenly is like, all right, well, I haven't gone defensive on Spurs. So good, because anyone that's gambled on Doherty or Reguilon suddenly got wiped out, but I have got Kane and Son, so suddenly I didn't get hit anywhere necessarily where I could have, whereas previous weeks I have been getting slaps every time.
Yeah, forwards again.
James laughing because you won your cup final, is that right?
I'll leave off, boy.
But you're putting it in your programme now, mate. So
what's that?
That it's a cup final.
Yeah,
every game's your cup final. It's in your programme, mate. Well, you don't buy programmes now.
Every day's our cup final. So fine, we've got 38 cup finals in a league season.
Yeah. Trophies in the post.
The person I'm annoyed with most from the FPL perspective is Brendan Rodgers. Because he made me put Iheanacho in my team.
Well, yeah, but Iheanacho, he went through 1-on-1, mate, and you're thinking if he puts that away, the person I'm annoyed with Brendan Rodgers because he hinted that Pereira should be okay for the weekend and ended up not being okay.
I'm sure, to be fair, I mean, I say that, I have not looked in all honesty, but Iheanacho's XG because of that chance was probably higher than James Maddison's at the weekend. So you win some, you lose some. Castagna scoring kind of added to the fury of all Leicester fullback. As I'd said, been saying all week, I really didn't fancy Brentford at Leicester. Not helped, admittedly, by Ericsson missing out. It was interesting Friday night. I mean, looking at the meltdown on Twitter with what was going on in that Wolves game. People tweeting after like 50 minutes and at half time, I'm going to be locked in here with my 18 points from my treble Wolves defensive and stuff. I was looking at the time with Pro in my team and Johnny sitting first sub thinking, it's going to be a 15-pointer and I'm not going to see it. I'm like, and the way that game swung was incredible.
I think we should just go through the games because the 4 games is the story of the weekend. Is the swings that we've just kind of been talking about. On top of going through the games, we will have another look in this episode at the 34 to 37 kind of schedule for you for people that still have a few chips and are now unsure which way to go, as well as obviously covering off the obvious wins of the week. I mean, pretty much the FA Cup went exactly as we would have expected with Liverpool, Chelsea, City through, and Crystal Palace going through as well. So we now can have a bit more of an idea of...
Did you watch any of the cup games?
No, not at all.
I only watched Chelsea on Saturday and I'd seen the highlights last night.
No,
like Forest give Liverpool a proper game.
Yeah,
it looks like.
What was Klopp saying? Like a European night in Nottingham or something is, I think, his comments. But yeah, look, I looked at it and then I look at it and I'm like, the top 3 in the Premier League are all in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup as well. This is for clubs like yours and mine, they get pillared with not winning a trophy for years and years and years. But it's the same big teams with the best squads that are winning everything. When and where do you pick up these trophies? Like with the League Cup, FA Cup and Premier League in the last 30 years, if you totaled up the number of times those 30 times 3, what's that, 90 trophies, 15 might have been won by not Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, City, Liverpool.
Well, it's conceivable this year that we've had Liverpool, Chelsea competing in the League Cup final. We could have City against Chelsea for the FA Cup final. We could have City against Liverpool for the Premier League title. That's where we're at, right?
Yeah.
Between them 3 teams.
And it starts getting like, oh, you haven't won a trophy anymore. Well, none of us are because these guys are just so dominant and have been for so long. It's a bit kind of... It stops becoming...
There are a lot of teams who've won a trophy since West Ham last won one, mate.
Yeah, that is true. But not... If you look at it overall, it's not really an insult anymore to say people haven't won trophies.
Many of them are not as massive as you.
That's 100% true. But there's not a lot. Name them. Leicester, Wigan...
What teams that won a trophy since you last won a trophy?
Yeah.
The majority of the league, mate.
Nah.
Yeah. We want to go through this now? What about even teams like Coventry, Wimbledon... Nottingham Forest, Luton Town. I'm just doing the 80s.
That's FA Cups.
League Cups, yeah.
Yeah. So is my assumption wrong then that from the last 90 trophies, let's say League, FA Cup, League Cup, so 30 years, only 15 have not been won by Liverpool, Arsenal, City, United, Chelsea?
Over the last, how many years?
30 years. 90 trophies.
Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea.
And United, obviously.
And United, obviously, yeah.
Five teams, 90 trophies. How many have not been won by those 5 teams?
Over the last 30 years?
Yeah.
Tottenham have won a couple. Everton have won an FA Cup. You got Wigan, you got Portsmouth,
you got
Swansea, you got Birmingham. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But then there's a whole league team. There's a whole 20-team league there then.
Yeah, so one per 30 years, if you look at it like that.
It's 1 per 40 for you, isn't it?
Yeah, but still, 1 per 30.
I didn't want to talk about it, but I'm talking about it.
No, it's what I'm saying is it's not really
You're going to win the Europa this year.
Well,
anyway.
Probably not if you saw Barcelona beat Real Madrid 4-1.
I didn't.
It's amazing how positive James is. If you are really interested, you need to sign up to our patrons at Tottenham because, trust me, 90% of the time, James is definitely not this Billy Big Bollocks of after Spurs win a game.
We deserved it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Timing was just right. But let's talk about Wolves 2, Leeds 3 to start with.
I saw your massive excuse there.
What, the timing was right?
We had to play off the 3 days. You just Arteta reincarnated.
No, but if you look at the way the game went, we'll talk about it when we talk about it. It was as you would have predicted. You predicted a 2-1. What you thought would happen happened, right? So how is it wrong to say that that's the reason behind the defeat?
Game was easier than I thought it would be.
I thought, well, yeah, when I saw the lineup and the formation, I thought it would be easy for you. The way that we'd set up. I didn't understand why he did it, but we can talk about it when we get there. Wolves 2, Leeds 3. What happened here?
Because did you watch it?
No, I watched it.
So much fun.
I watched the first half. I thought, this is all right, this is enjoyable, and then I had other stuff to do. And then Jimenez got sent off. At the point that Jimenez got sent off, it flashed up as an alert. I thought, well, okay, it's annoying. I've lost some points here, but you'd still expect Wolves to see it out at 2-0. 2-1, 2-2, you're thinking, all right, well done. 3-2 was unexpected, I would say.
If honestly, I think if it hadn't been for wanting to review the game on the podcast, at halftime, my only reason to have kept the game on would have been to see how badly Leeds were going to get battered, because Wolves were in complete control, very comfortable, could have easily been more than 2-0 in the first half. The game was so straightforward. Leeds' defensive sloppiness still all over that team. And they had a couple of players playing really well. Wolves, Trincao was good, really showed up. Let's not dive onto a player just because he's got returns against Leeds. We always warn about that quite a lot. But they were in complete control. And Jimenez had obviously missed a couple of sitters. And the dog's abuse he was getting off of FPL Twitter, mate. And then you can imagine, obviously he's got sent off. And he's cost all the defensive points as well, because I think if they'd have stayed with 11, they'd have won 2 or 3-0, I should imagine. It'd have been very comfortable. The red card in itself is really, really harsh as a second yellow card. I can understand why the referee has made the decision. When I saw it live first time, I thought he was actually going to give a free kick to Wolves, because although Meslier had won the ball, he was the instigator in terms of he never stopped momentum, whereas Jimenez did. But the referee was miles away, 25 yards back, and he's like behind Jimenez, and it's probably difficult to see whether he is trying to stop his momentum. When you see it from other angles, you can see Jimenez has tried to stop, hasn't it? And then Meslier kind of clatters into him, part protecting himself, which is understandable. She got two people running at each other at such speed. It did feel unfair. It didn't feel right. I don't know what Jimenez can do differently.
Yeah, I think the argument will be that he was out of control or a bit reckless.
But he originally was running for the ball because he thinks he's going to get there. Right?
Yeah.
Meslier is quick off his feet, gets there first, and he tries to stop. I don't really know what he could have done different. I'm not saying Meslier should have been booked instead. By the way, that's just the way I read it. When it happened, I thought, Meslier is going to get done here. Not red, but yellow, because he hasn't stopped his momentum despite winning the ball. There was an incident in the Villa-Arsenal game where Tyrone Mings lunged for a ball and he won it cleanly, but his momentum's then carried himself. Saka stepped across the path at the same time, and Mings' momentum's taking him into Saka. And there's a few people, the way it happened, that looked bad. It looked like it could have been a red card. That also would have been quite harsh, because as Mings lunges into the ball, Saka's not even in the line of direction of where Mings wins the ball. Anyway, after the red card, Wolves fucking wet the bed, mate. The defensive shambles. The second goal that they conceded was like Keystone Cups, mate. It needs Benny Hill music with it. The amount of individual mistakes there. From Saiss hacking it up in the air, the original ball where James got in behind, Saul racing off his line and getting easily done by Rodrigo, Cody not getting back on the line quick enough, all of them at fault. And for those sitting there with Max Kilman and you've been holding through, I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in the team in game week 31. That's my analysis of that. Bolly as well, like, you can say, third goal, but actually that's not the sort of goal you expect Wolves to concede. Whether they concede the Ayling goal is irrespective of whether they've got 10 or 11 on the pitch.
Yeah.
Just deal with it badly from a set piece. Love Ayling's goal celebration, by the way.
So
I take it you've seen that.
no, I didn't see it.
You're not.
No, I didn't
Tries to
watch
do the
highlights.
Robbie Keane, doesn't he? Mate, he doesn't even
dive.
get like a foot off the floor, mate.
The flip.
Yeah, the cartwheel. Yeah,
Leeds important win.
very much so.
Yeah, it's because it's so tight at the bottom down there. And now that the Bamford's injured again, Click picked up a knock. Meslier's out now as well, potentially. We don't know the status of these injuries. Obviously, Rafinha, people gambled on, didn't play, COVID.
Well, I think
probably
not many would have bought, and I think most free hitters obviously ended up avoiding. Or the one there was a case to still gamble with him because it became clear on Friday that he was either going to play or he wasn't going to play. Basically, it was not one where he's going to be a 1-pointer or so. Certainly feel for those who obviously carried through. I know a few people gambled on obviously selling on the COVID rumours being correct, which proved to be the case. As per usual, guys, if you're on the Bird app, know your sources when you're listening to people. Don't just follow Leeds fan account with 10,000 followers because he happens to be a Leeds fan account that baseless rumours were going around. Well, no, they weren't baseless rumours. It was correct, actually. Leeds still in trouble, I think. How many points are you on, Suj?
29, which gives them 7 points off relegation zone, but 1 game extra played. So, a couple of wins, 3 or 4 weeks, and suddenly you're right back in it. I think they do need still at least.
I think Andy said
said
this when he come on COTC last week. We said, like, after Wolves is Southampton, Watford, and if they can do the business in those 2 games, that'll probably be enough for them. If they don't, they're still banging trouble. But they can... If they won them 2 games, Southampton and Watford, that's enough.
Yeah. Villa 0, Arsenal 1. Good goal by Saka. I watched again the first half and the first 15 minutes, second half, so first hour of this game. I thought Arsenal were decent, but they
well worthy winners.
Didn't
no doubt
get
about it.
I feel like I want to see a little bit more ruthlessness from them in front of goal, like the right decision at the right moment, and they could have scored a couple more. Sometimes you feel like they get themselves 80% of the way there or 90% of the way there and then just kind of make the wrong choice or are not decisive enough at the end. But decent win. Felt like there was quite a bit of needle in the game and there was a few tackles flying in and they didn't seem to like each other particularly very much.
There were a lot of bookings in the game, including one for, you seen the Xhaka booking?
Nah, I saw Mingsy get booked.
Do you know what? And you know how people keep, we did a pod about conspiracy theories last week.
Him getting a booking for
but did you see what happened when he got booked? So the referee went like 1, 2, 3, as if to say like persistent fouling. It was his first foul.
Was it?
Yeah. It's really bad.
That's harsh.
No, he's really, really
they could
bad.
Probably appeal that then.
Well, if it's on persistent fouling, yeah, they should. But then what's the point? You get to 32 games and then it resets to 15. There's literally
no point.
There's no point in actually. It's not going to change anything. Other than I think it would probably be worthwhile for Arsenal to do so, to make a point and go, look, maybe you are victimising Xhaka, and I know Arsenal fans do think Xhaka gets victimised, and I'm quite often I think Xhaka brings it on himself, but this one was really, really bad. That does make you go, hang on, mate, what have you seen? And at the same time, there was a few other players. I mean, Matty Cash got away with 4 fouls that all probably, arguably, individually in isolation could have been yellow cards, and didn't get one in the game. Anyway, it was badly refereed game. Darren England, I think, was the referee, I want to say. Arsenal played really well, completely dominant in the first half, really professional away performance. They played Sod's Law, Suj. I did for Talking Tactics last week for advanced tier patrons a look at Granit Xhaka and his evolution of his position and playing basically higher, and Kieran Tierney playing a kind of flatter, more defensive left-back role. And it was like back to 3 months ago in this game. Xhaka played alongside Partey. Tierney got a lot higher in the game. Whether that was in relation to the fact Martinelli didn't play, but actually on reflection, I think it was actually more about the tight turnaround of Arsenal's games. We're obviously playing Liverpool Wednesday night and then Villa Saturday lunchtime, because that kind of 8 role that Xhaka's doing, you have to get through a lot of work doing that. So I think they sat him off a little bit. Plus, the added bonus of Tierney playing a lot higher in the game and Smith Rowe drifting inside was it kept Matty Cash a lot deeper as well. So good tactical setup from Arsenal. Fully deserved the win. Could have been more than 1 up at half time. I think they didn't need to sit off as much as they did in the second half, But I understand it. It gets to sort of 70-minute mark in the game. Saka comes off. He'd been a little bit of a doubt anyway. I know that a few people were reporting they didn't expect him to play who follow Arsenal and stuff. But he's too important to them. Once he went off, I can understand why they sat off, but they were just in so much control for me. I don't think they needed to. Villa were rubbish. What awful.
What's the prognosis on Ramsdale? Then we think he'll be back post international.
So Ramsdale, couple of weeks. Look, to be honest, this international break, it's another one really where, and I know people want to like bomb out Jimenez. Now, if you're going Jimenez to Weghorst, you're probably fine, but I presume even that Weghorst will go and play for Holland.
Yeah.
Like, try and wait during the international break if you can. People are going to pull out of squads. That's fairly obvious. And I'm sure Ramsdale will probably pull out the England squad, which is unfortunate because I think a lot of us were hoping he would play at least one of the games to have a proper look at him, whereas it probably means Pickford plays twice now and Southgate. Pickford hasn't let Southgate down.
Yeah.
He's in and out of form. Everton fans actually say he's been one of their best players this season, which possibly sums up their season. But he hasn't let Southgate down. Most of us are beginning to get to the opinion where Ramsdale Pickford's becoming quite close. Would like to see him get a shot. I presume he won't be involved. For 31, it's difficult to say at this stage, isn't it? I feel like most people have probably got a backup at the moment. Like most people have Foster, for example. What Watford got in 31, Suj? I feel like it's not the worst fixture, I want to say.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Liverpool away.
Okay, it's a terrible fixture. Sorry.
Couldn't be worse, mate.
But then it's the sort of one he might pick up, even without a clean sheet, he might pick up 3-4 points. It's not actually a disaster.
If you can just...
could also be -1 or -2.
Yeah. If I was in that situation, Ramsdale might be out. I'd just ride it out, I think. If we knew he was back the week after.
Oh, at the moment you wait, yeah. Villa changed system as well. So Buendia came in for Ings. They played with the 2-10s. Coutinho was abysmal. It was so bad. It was non-existent in the game. And when Arsenal finally sat off him later in the game and let him have it, his distribution was so poor for a player of his level. And watching the game, I obviously wanted Arsenal not to win. And I think, come on, mate, step up. I'm looking for him to do something. He was really, really poor. And it's interesting, reflecting on his returns, Philippe Coutinho so far. What's he had? The big returns against Southampton and Leeds, I want to say?
Yep.
Is that it? Has he returned in any other game so far?
I went with him in my -56.
No, so that's it. Obviously, goal was a sub against Man United in Gameweek 22. So there's been blanks against Everton, Newcastle, Watford, Brighton, West Ham, and now Arsenal. The returns have obviously come in lumps. You've got 26 points against Leeds, 13 points against Southampton when they won 4-0 and nothing else. And I think those who've got Villa assets are probably going to look to move off now, I should imagine. Partly because it's now obviously confirmed they won't play in 33. It's Wolves and Tottenham in the next 2. The caution on that, as we'll talk in a little bit, might be a double in 34.
Right. Leicester 2, Brentford 1. There was a rule set before this game that you were not allowed to score from a shot inside the box. I didn't know if you knew that. And so that's why they just decided to stick him in from the top corner, left, right and centre.
What is that?
I have no idea. But all of those goals were...
You and your massive furies. Yeah, even Visser's goal was great, actually.
Yeah. I think Maddison's free kick was an absolute purder as well. So, decent win. I mean, Brentford had a couple of chances, but overall, really, Leicester probably deserved to take the 3 points.
Oh, yeah. Leicester deserved to win the game. I think on the first hour, and Thomas Frank kind of gave the game away in his interview afterwards, and I've not seen a lot of this one, said, they played well in the first half. So Brentford had a much better second half, but then it's not surprising now. It's game status. The team's got a 2-0 lead. They're going to sit off a little bit. Brentford clearly missed Christian Eriksen, obviously. Another one. This one more probably for free hitters who may have gambled on him. The benefit for free hitters was they probably had the bench, right? Whereas those who weren't free hitting didn't this week. So they clearly missed him. Visser played obviously on the left-hand side instead of Sergi Canos. Took his goal really well. I think he's probably underwhelmed based on expectations. Like we've not seen as many minutes for him as we might have expected this season. I was not aboard the Ivan Toney gamble that I know was people went for. And it was mainly because how do you feel now if you're on Tony? So you've gone in, you go, oh yeah, great. He's got 5-2 against Norwich, Brentford, 3 penalties from that. Leicester away, okay, they're flaky defensively.
Yeah.
Now what?
The biggest thing that turned me off, Tony, in the end was when you're saying 3 of those 5 goals are penalties. I was like, that's a very important way of looking at the goals that he scored recently.
So Brentford's next 5 fixtures: Chelsea away, West Ham at home, Watford away in 33. But then you've got teams with doubles, teams with blanks. Quite a number of people probably going to free hit in 33. He wouldn't be on radar, despite the fact that's a good fixture. Then it's Tottenham in 34 at home and United away in 35. I mean, you're probably already looking to sell, aren't you? This was I really feared that for people who were. I didn't mind it as much for free hitters, but those who bought, and it was the most bought player last week.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do now? If you're sitting there with Tony and Jimenez right now,
Was he the most bought player in the game last week?
yeah,
No.
yeah,
Ivan Toney?
yes, mate.
I laugh.
It shows what form does. And we know form's important, but it was also
Wow.
Norwich and Burnley, right?
I knew he'd be popular. I don't think he'd be the most bought
I was
player.
about
in the
800,
game.
about
That's
eight.
mental.
Not as many as you'd normally see, but I think it was about 800,000 bought him, I think.
Yeah.
It's a sizable number, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now you probably, I mean, people sitting there with like Jimenez and Tony now, there's got to be. Jimenez has got to go first. There's a 2-game ban for Raul Jimenez, which actually means because they blank in 33, Jimenez isn't even available till game week 34.
Mad.
So Jimenez has got to go. Do you want to look at Tony away to Chelsea? Well, that's probably going as well, isn't it? Suddenly you're taking -4 for more shit forwards. And then you get sucked in it. Oh, I'll go Weghorst and Richarlison or something like that for the 31 doubles. You're just going to get sucked in, I'm afraid. So, I mean, if you're in that situation, obviously you prioritise getting rid of Jimenez first. Tony, of course, because he's on the pens and he is consistent, in fairness, like you can live. I think you probably end up benching him at Chelsea for a lot of people because the big sides have good fixtures in 31 where people might go with more 4 or 5 at the back, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if Trent's fit, I'm probably going back 5 in 31.
Yep. And last but not least, Spurs 3, Tottenham, West Ham. Sorry, Spurs 3, Tottenham 1. That wouldn't make sense. Spurs 3, West Ham 1.
Massive.
You mentioned that it was easier than you thought. When I saw the lineup, I was quite disappointed actually that we went with the back 3 rather than sticking with the same formation. I don't know how you felt when you saw the lineup. And yours is obviously copy paste, same team again. But to see Masuaku and us playing a back 3.
Can I be honest with you? When I saw your team, I just thought, oh, West Ham are going 3 at the back. I didn't really think much more than that.
From a,
I just thought, right, you're going to match us up.
I thought we're playing 5 at the back, not 3 at the back, because it can be construed as that, and therefore.
Well, Johnson as a wing back is non-existent,
and Masuaku is non-existent as a footballer sometimes. Not always.
No, but he does give you. We spoke about this actually going back a couple of years actually with West Ham when Masuaku plays in front of Cresswell. That it gives this unique balance where sometimes you become so weighted and slanted towards the left side that sometimes it's difficult to tell if it's a back 4 or a back 3. Johnson's no wing back.
The problem is mentally for me. It says right, okay, we're playing 5 at the back. 2 things. Firstly, we're setting up ultra defensively to keep it tight at the back, which sends out the wrong message. When you go into any game thinking we're just our aim is not to concede. I don't like that mentality. And the second thing is the front 3. I mean, Benrahma, Lanzini, and Antonio. We were never going to score more than 1 goal in that game.
Why?
Because that's just too light.
Antonio missed 2 decent chances.
He did, but it's too light. Like playing 3 up there, having an extra 1 person to break out is fine. But I just didn't like it in the sense that mentally it's like, okay, we're setting in here to just defensively dig in if that's how we're set up. And up top, we need 1 other body up there to go with Lanzini and Benrahma to have enough numbers to even offer any kind of attacking threat. As soon as you see that, you're like, we're not set up with the right mentality. And the problem is also, all the talk in the build-up is we're going to be tired after 120 minutes and all this kind of stuff. And the majority of fans were resigned to the fact that we were probably going to lose before the game had even started. And it just felt not the right way to approach it. I get it, but it's like...
No,
obviously,
I don't.
I understand why they think it. I don't agree with it, but I understand why they felt it. I was sitting at home watching it on the sofa, right? I had my pillow. And as the game was starting, I was tired. I was like, I'm ready to nod off, mate. And just couldn't even motivate myself to get on the edge of my seat about it.
I want to talk about this more on Tottenham on Wednesday on Patreon, because it's the worst away support I think I've ever seen from West Ham at Tottenham. I never heard bubbles till I was like 15, 20 minutes in the game. I was like, where are you?
It's funny because we talked about it last week, and you said it's probably the best game we could have to get ourselves up for it.
Well, in hindsight, I think that opinion was probably incorrect. Yeah,
I watched a couple of West Ham fan channels, and they were like, it felt dead in the away end. They were in.
They said that as well.
Yeah, they were just. I've never seen an away end. Nick Hilkins on West Ham fans, he said, I've never seen an away end so not bothered about a result.
Yeah,
and that's a bad place to be. So the games felt. To be honest with you, the intensity in the first 15 minutes that you were pressing us with set the tone. Right, you'd come out and said, right, if we go after these in the first 15 minutes,
we had to.
That's fine. And I didn't feel like, as a fan watching the game, I was happy with what we did because we kept trying to pass the ball out around you in triangles rather than hoof it away. Like if someone's pressing you, you panic and you kick it away. We didn't. We still tried to pass it out and around. But the goal came from Azuma's mistake. The first one, Sonny. As soon as he went on the left foot, like you guys have been waiting 2 months for it to cat cow. Finally, he got it. Sonny, when he got the ball, I mean that was a goal. As soon as he got the ball, you knew he was going to score because he's been in that position so many times. He puts his laces through it. He ain't going to stop him. As soon as he shifted it to his left, I knew he was going to score. And then as the game went on, it just got worse. It kind of became less and less of an event. And I don't know, that last mistake, Dawson and Zuma going up for the same ball. Yeah,
very unlike them.
Fresh minds will never make that stupid mistake.
Very unlike them.
And at that point, there was you were going to pick off a third.
Not only very unlike them to both go the same ball, but very unlike neither of them to win it as well.
What I didn't understand in terms of, like, we had someone put on Twitter saying, like, was Zuma affected by the booing? And he's been booed every game. I think he was more... I don't understand why he didn't play centrally and Dawson right rather than Zuma right and Dawson centrally. I don't understand that.
I think
that was more unsettling for him to be right than...
I do. It's because Dawson's the poorest of the three on the ball. So Zuma can step out. I wouldn't say he's brilliant on the ball, but he's better on the ball than Dawson. You don't want Dawson stepping out into midfield. Remember the red card at Newcastle last season? It's disastrous if he steps into those zones. But he's also pinged in a few decent balls that led to a few goals. Like when we scored against Villa, it was Dawson's ball to Benrahma that opened up the space. So I don't know. I just think it's like moving a player. You know, like sometimes Dunk gets moved in Brighton's formation and suddenly he's a different type of player. I didn't like one really negative impact it did have for you defensively was, we spoke about this on Friday, was Zuma plays Kane really well.
Exactly.
Well, Kane never went near him.
No.
Never went into his zone.
They just weren't...
He ended up Zuma being versus Son, basically.
Yeah, I didn't... everything about it was like, this is just like 5-10 small things that are all tweaked wrong without the right motivation underneath it, and you're going to comfortably win a game. Like it could have been more than 3-1, let's be honest.
I understand why.
It also could have ended 2-2.
I understand why Antonio went off, and I think Romero was playing him pretty well. And it's interesting that
Romero versus Yarmolenko was so easy. The amount of times the ball comes into Yarmolenko, Romero put his foot through so easily every single time.
But this is my point.
Whereas Antonio at least has held it up a little bit. So he made Romero work. Yarmolenko didn't make Romero work.
The two chances that Antonio had, the one immediately after the first goal and the one about 10 minutes into the second half that he blazed over, was both him being on Davis's side, right? Yeah, right. Well away from Romero. Romero played Antonio as well as I think I've seen anyone playing. But at the same time, Suj, when Antonio went off, I went, oh. In my head, I'm thinking, that's a right touch. And I know Yarmolenko scored a few goals for you recently and stuff, but I'm thinking, great. Because from that point as well, I'm thinking, we're obviously getting a little bit deeper again because of game state. It's 2-1. You don't want to leave yourself wide open to suddenly concede. I think there's only one or two ways West Ham are scoring out. One is from a corner, and the other one is, can they get a right delivery into Souček? Yeah. And as long as you stop Souček's run into the box from open play, there was never an issue during the game. And I felt fully comfortable throughout. I was pretty pleased when the third went in, because you don't want it to go to, it's going to get lodged in the box at the end and stuff.
It was more likely to go 3-1 than 2-2, but I didn't think we were particularly bad.
No, to be honest, Suj, I think we were pretty good, actually. Yeah. And you know me, I'm very critical of ours, and we played well, mate.
Yeah, I think from an attacking point of view, it was fair. It was decent, but you could pick and choose your moments to go for it. It wasn't like you had to be at 100 miles an hour. And that's the ultimate frustration. Is that really? I think anybody that gambled moving Sonny to Kane, kind of ended up being and not worth it.
Saying, I've never been, because Sonny can explode in any game, and by the way, particularly in home games. Yeah, this is something we've covered a number of times. Whereas Kane at home and away, it just doesn't matter. He's arguably even better away from home.
Defensively, obviously the clean sheet wipeout. I mean, set piece goal, as you highlighted again.
Dawson.
Zuma. Sonny needs to be aware of the man behind him. He just ghosted him behind Sonny. Free man in the box. He's going to score from there. It's a frustration. But anyone who's on Son and Kane right now, and Kulu is fine. The reason I might make the move from Son to Kane...
I've seen a few people criticising Kulusevski's performance, and I can only think that's frustrated FPL managers.
100%.
Like, seriously.
I still might make the move to move of Son on for Kane because of how few forwards there are, and I'd rather have the forward than the midfielder at the moment. And I can fill Son's spot in midfield with so many other options, whereas up top, I ain't got nothing.
Newcastle next. I wouldn't swap that now.
No, I need to find the money to be able to do it. So I want to wait and see what happens with Trent and so on. I might even roll this week and do it the week after. But
preference, obviously, like if you free hitted this week and you've had no Tottenham and you now want to invest, the preference, yes, is still with Harry Kane at the moment rather than Son. But again, I would not rush into taking -4s and stuff to move Son to Kane, especially when Tottenham have another home game next. Sonny, for me, is a different animal home and away. Mm-hmm. And I always fancy him in home games. Kane, I fancy in any game. But yeah, look, we played really well, Suj, and it's not actually to bash you. I was really pleased with the way Tottenham played with the ball, the way we played out from the back. Really good stuff. Romero, the last 2 games, he was outstanding at Brighton as well. And so too with the midfield pair at Brighton. I was annoyed with myself for not shouting out. And I did tweet it after the game. Højbjerg and Romero were particularly great at Brighton. And Bentancur was really good the longer the game went on. Bentancur was fantastic yesterday. Him and Højbjerg are really good. The front three look a real threat. I genuinely, people criticising Kulusevski, I don't get it. Just because the other two have gone off and he hasn't. Kula's a great FPL asset.
I just, I can't argue that. I don't think
Saka,
you've got us at our best, though.
Him and Saka are going to be like 8-9 million next year in FPL, aren't they? So what is there to overlook at the moment? It's just brilliant value. And that Tottenham team, White stays fit, that's going to stay the team now.
Agreed. West Ham have frustrating problems now because the next... so we got Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday for the next 3 weeks post-international break. And we have made the fewest changes in the team in the Premier League of all Premier League teams this season so far. It just goes to show that we're flogging the players a lot. The biggest risk when you flog them like that is injuries. Like if you keep tight, like forcing them out and running them out, that's when knocks happen and injuries happen.
There's some reports this morning that they have now found the problem with Jared Bowen.
Fractured foot.
Possibly. I don't know why that's taken 2 weeks or so to find, but
disappointing. Like I personally will not be going anywhere near West Ham assets in FPL in the next 3-4 weeks.
Next fixtures are good though, aren't they? Everton, Brentford. I mean, to be honest with you, I think you could do worse than Jimenez to Antonio for the next 3. Everton, Brentford, Burnley. But then is the problem, do you look at it like 4th is gone, isn't it?
Yeah, 4th is going to be
Tottenham and United should have a chance of 4th with Arsenal obviously in the driving seat. I think for West Ham and Wolves, 4th is gone now. You still want to be in Europe next season.
Yeah.
So you're probably in competition with Wolves to make sure that you do so. And you can definitely still finish above Tottenham or Manchester United and finish in the top 6. So I don't think you want to throw in the towel in the league. But can you see situation here where he starts going, I'm going to leave Rice out for a league game. I'm going to leave Antonio out for a league game.
Yeah. That's why I'm going to avoid it. We're not going to go around smashing anybody anymore. We'll win games with what we need to. There are games that we have coming up. I won't mention any names because we'll offend them. That we can win at 80%, I think, and we probably will.
Offend them, Everton, Brentford, Burnley. I wonder what games West Ham have coming up.
But it just won't be explosive. Like, if you're looking at the assets, it won't be explosive, so it's not worth it for me. I'm going to avoid, but I'm happy to stick with Kulu. I'm happy to stick with Son to Kane at some point. I think is likely because there's no other forwards. I'd happy go 5-4-1, 4-5-1 in my FPL team. And then go from there.
I think what West Ham assets you have at the moment you hold. I think you can't look to move that on with Everton at home next.
Agreed, yeah.
And especially...
it's the first game after the international break.
Correct, so it's first after the internationals this Sunday, then you don't play till Thursday. So West Ham...
the Lyon game,
should
the
play
first
the
leg is
game.
Home.
Yeah.
So it's home, and then Brentford is the Sunday, which is local, and then we travel to France. So
France is only down the road, isn't it?
It is. You can get a train apparently nowadays.
Lyon's easier than some of the...
Unless you're Chelsea, because you can't afford it.
I'm pretty sure it's easier to get to Lyon than it is to get to Burnley, by the way. Twice. Yeah, I'd keep West Ham assets. The same applies to Leicester assets. I think there's a link as well. We should probably link that in because Leicester have obviously got the European fixtures. Leicester have got PSV in the Conference League as well. And I think if you've invested in the likes of Maddison or Barnes this week or whomever, at the moment that sits despite the Manchester United fixture next, and you, depending on your squad, you either play them or you don't. But I wouldn't go and buy West Ham or Leicester at this minute in time now.
Mm. So we come back after the international break into game week 31. And I know the answer to this question already that I'm going to ask you. But do you have any loose thoughts at the moment of any ideas? You're going to kind of really keep your powder dry until you see what happens with the international break?
Yeah, absolutely. Like many people, I've got Trent. So the intention at the moment is to wait and see on what the situation is. And also potentially Mo Salah as well, who obviously missed the game yesterday against Nottingham Forest because the foot injury was still annoying him a little bit. And obviously, in the case of Mane and Salah, they have this massive World Cup qualifier against each other, Senegal against Egypt, and 2 legs that's being played over this break. So definitely want to keep options open over the break. If Trent's out, I think the plan in mind would be to look at moving him all the way down, possibly to sort of Ben Johnson way, actually.
Yeah.
And then move Ryan Fraser up, see if I can get that towards Son, actually. It's possibly part of the thinking, or Diaz or Jota.
I feel I might be in a position to be able to roll, unless I'm going to lose disgusting value in somebody, because triple Liverpool against Watford at home is great.
Might not be triple Liverpool though, right?
That's fine. Even double Liverpool at home against Watford, even 2 of them's fine. Spurs, Newcastle at home, double Spurs is fine. Chelsea, Brentford at home is perfectly
City
fine.
got Burnley away.
Trossard sitting there with Norwich at home. Like, if I didn't need to move him on,
did you not get rid of him?
No, I didn't need to. Right?
I cut my losses.
Benched him. Double game week for Weghorst. Great, but it's still a double game week.
Yeah, I've got him as well.
So and then Ben Johnson is on my bench. He's home to Everton. Breuer leads away. So Dennis is the only one with Liverpool away that's really
fine.
A frustration. He's third on my bench. So I don't need to. If I'm happy to bench Trent if he is injured, then I don't need to force the move this week. So I may even roll, assuming they all come back in fit. I may roll and see what it lets me do in 32.
The timescale is important, but also in my case, I'm likely to free hit in 33. So if he's going to miss Watford, then he's got Man City in 32. All right, listen, Trent any game, right? But then I think, okay, I'll move him on. Then 34, can I live with? I think it's Everton at home in 34, which is a bit like, oh God, close your eyes.
But you're free hitting.
But actually,
so
to be honest,
back on your free hit.
Sorry, Evertonians, but Klopp might even rotate the team for Everton in 34 ahead of a Champions League quarter-final potentially, right? Not quarter-final, semi-final possibly. If they've got Bayern Munich 3 days after Everton, and might even rest the likes of Trent and Salah and stuff in 34. So it might be that despite the value, I look at it and go, oh, I can be without Trent here till the wild card period at the end. So he may go for me. But yes, like you, Suj, I have Breuer sitting first sub at the moment, and I think that's decent cover if Trent's unavailable and I decide I want to keep him. So I may end up rolling as well.
I'm looking at my team. Other than Cancelo at Burnley, every fixture's a home fixture. Odd that it happens that way, but yeah, every fixture's a home fixture, including
Burnley's magnificent double, of which the second part is Everton. Everyone's going to ignore the first part.
Being City, yeah.
Would you buy? And Jack and Sean are coming on COTC next week.
No.
Would you buy Weghorst because he had Everton at home this week?
No.
Would you buy Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison because he had Burnley away this week?
No, I'm not buying any double game week players in addition to what I already own, which is only one in Weghorst. So, what do you think is going to happen 34 onwards now?
So, obviously we've got the clarity now, which is really important in terms of European draws and obviously the FA Cup draw. The FA Cup draw, and we did get, as Suj alluded to, the 4 teams that we anticipated would go through, did go through. But the draw has thrown up different possibilities and the Chelsea headache has just grown. So with Chelsea drawing Crystal Palace in the semi-final, they are obviously favourites to proceed to the final, which would mean their fixture with Manchester United in game week 37 would most likely move to the midweek afterwards. The problem is when Chelsea beat Real Madrid in the Champions League quarterfinals as well, then we have a major problem. We will have 2 available midweeks for Chelsea fixtures with 3 games to fit in. This is the long, worn-out problem that I told you about, that there's every chance Chelsea will have fixtures on the Tuesday and the Thursday, most likely, in game week 37. Now, that would still only be a double game week, because obviously Chelsea would be playing in the FA Cup final on the Saturday before. But in any case, I mean, what confidence would you have? And Chelsea with nothing to play for, possibly still in the Champions League after an FA Cup final, of any of their assets playing twice in 3 days. He'd pick 2 different teams, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I think close. So I think Chelsea are most likely, in the original prediction that we did a couple of weeks ago, was Chelsea most likely to play Leicester in 36. I still believe that remains the case. I think 37 needs to be left free for the possibility of Chelsea making the cup final, and therefore it would stay as a single fixture, obviously, for Manchester United in 37. It would be a double for Chelsea if Chelsea beat Real Madrid in the Champions League. If Chelsea don't beat Real Madrid in the Champions League, but do beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, and this is obviously also a possibility, I think we're now looking at Chelsea doubling in game week 35. Because we'd be looking at Chelsea. If Chelsea haven't got the Champions League semi-final, 34 and 35 is available, right? So I think the Leeds fixture would probably be the most likely that would go into game week 35. That would then give Chelsea back-to-back doubles in 35 of Everton and Leeds away, and 36 of Wolves, Leicester at home. And then the Manchester United fixture would just move back into the midweek in 37 and remain a single fixture. And interestingly, Chelsea have Watford at home in game week 38 as well. So for those wildcard in 34, 35...
Triple Chelsea's kind of...
mandatory, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean...
If that's the way it works out.
Yeah. Right. What else for 34 onwards then are we thinking now? City have got rearrangements. Liverpool rearrangements.
So I think what's really difficult to understand, and this is almost more difficult than it was a few weeks ago, purely because we don't actually know when the announcement of the May TV fixtures are going to come. So the May TV fixtures, and this is important and relevant. 2 weeks
worth, right?
Well, yeah, it's 30. In theory, obviously 38 they'll decide right at the end because those fixtures won't move.
Yeah, and they're all at the same time anyway.
35. Has that been announced, 35? Yes, it has, 35. So it's 36, 37. And then theory, according to the Premier League website, that's due to be announced on April the 4th, which I think is the Monday after game week 31 begins. Now, it doesn't guarantee that that's going to include the midweek fixtures. It might just be that it's the weekend games in 36 and 37. But if they decide they've got to do the midweek games as well, then they're more restricted in terms of what they can do.
Because they only go with what's confirmed.
I don't think they can, because if you use the Chelsea example, surely what they've got to do with Chelsea is if Chelsea lose to Real Madrid, Chelsea have probably got to play in 35. I think Leeds is the more likely. Obviously, if Leicester progress in Europe, it can't be Leicester. And to bring the Manchester United fixture forward from 37 into 35 makes a little less sense. That's why I think Leicester, because of their involvement in Europe at the moment, is most likely to be 36, though that fixture could also go into 37. So I think because of that, I don't see how they can go and announce the midweek fixtures, really, until the European quarterfinals are completed, because there's other knock-ons. You mentioned Manchester City. Again, as I discussed a few weeks ago, if they decide they need to make these announcements now, they've got to put Manchester City's game against Wolves in game week 37.
Yep.
Because if West Ham stay in Europe, West Ham can't play in the midweek of 37 because that's when the Europa League final is. So West Ham and Man City would have to be left available for 36. So if they decide early, and this is what's really interesting possibly for bench boosters, there's a possibility that Man City won't double at all in 36. The double might be in 37. So if they make a decision that before the FA Cup semi-finals are played, that they've got to move Wolves and Manchester City into game week 37 because they want to lock it in as a TV game or something. And then obviously if Liverpool beat Man City in the Cup semi-final, which is of course possible, then suddenly Man City don't double in 36 and they'll double in 37. And that's the sort of one that I think makes the free hit 37 really possibly appealing. But you need, I think, the earlier TV announcement. And I genuinely, I have no idea what they're going to do in terms of when the announcement will be. I think what they'll do is they'll end up being late because they always are. So I think they'll announce the weekends of 36, 37, what they want to do. And I think they'll leave the midweeks, other than maybe obvious ones, like they might say, we're going to show Tottenham and Arsenal on the Thursday in the midweek of 36. I think for those that are still involved in European competition, it just makes sense for them to wait. And arguably, it makes sense to wait till after the FA Cup semi-finals are completed. That's the weekend of 33. So if you're then moving, say, Leeds-Chelsea into the midweek of 35, you're doing it at 2 weeks' notice. But unfortunately, that makes more sense than Chelsea having to play twice in 3 days, if that's what it comes to. So at the moment, West Ham v City has got to be left available for 36 because of West Ham's European involvement and because of City's FA Cup involvement. Now, if either of those change, then obviously that can move. If West Ham go out of Europe, West Ham and Man City could stay in 37, Wolves and Man City double in 36. I think it makes sense for the other 3 ties that could be postponed in 37 because of the FA Cup final to just stay part of that week. So currently that would be United against Chelsea, Aston Villa against Crystal Palace, and Liverpool's trip to Southampton, where they're scheduled for the weekend. If those games need to be postponed because one team's in the FA Cup final, it'll probably just take place on the Tuesday or the Thursday, most likely in the midweek afterwards. That obviously can't be the case with the West Ham City fixture because of previously explained. There is a knock-on. The one prediction I really got wrong in game week 33 was the idea of Villa-Burnley going into that week. The reason it hasn't is because Sky have decided they wanted to retain the Burnley-Southampton fixture and show it on its own on a Thursday night because, hey, heck, why not? So Villa and Burnley have one game to rearrange at Villa Park. They're also due to meet at Turf Moor in game week 36. So you can't really put the game into 37 at the moment because you might need to put Crystal Palace and Villa there if Crystal Palace beat Chelsea. And again, this is influenced by if they make the decision early. 35, if you put it in there, means they still need to play each other twice in 3 or 4 days. And I think for, give me the right word here, Suj, the
integrity of
that's
of
exactly
the
the word I want. The integrity of the competition, with Burnley fighting relegation, to play the same mid-table team with nothing to play for twice in 3 or 4 days doesn't sit quite right. So I think at the moment, the rearranged Villa Burnley fixture from January or something, I think at the moment probably needs to go into 34. I can't guarantee it will because it should have really gone into 33, but TV ruled. Now that would give Villa a double in 34 of Leicester away and Burnley at home, which is not bad actually. And it would give Burnley a double of Wolves at home and Aston Villa away. Then some interesting fixtures. Do you remember, Suj, how people were joking, Burnley are going to play like 5 times in game week 38? Well, if Burnley goes into game week 34 against Aston Villa for a double, Burnley won't have any doubles from 35 onwards. That's it. That's done remarkably. They'll be the one that's more than just caught up. They'll be ahead of the majority. So I think that's the sensible play. Now, I can't promise that the Premier League are going to be sensible. So I think, as said, I think Villa Burnley goes into 34. I think Leeds Chelsea might go into 35, or a Chelsea fixture of some description goes into 35. Should Chelsea lose to Real Madrid in the Champions League quarterfinals? If they beat Real Madrid in the quarterfinals, I think they will have to play twice in 3 days in game week 37. There are a few other fixtures that I think could be brought forward into 34, 35, and they involve Everton. I think it's possible that the Everton Palace fixture or the Watford Everton fixture might be brought into game week 34 or game week 35 also. Currently, I have Everton Palace still penciled in for 36. 36 again, most likely, if they need to make an early announcement. So Palace v Villa can be left available for the midweek 37. Watford versus Everton does now slot nicely into game week 37, therefore. But they might just decide to have it earlier. It's not a TV game or anything. Might just go, we're putting it in 34, 35. This is where I almost say this is more difficult than it was to kind of iron out the pattern of 33 in a weird sort of way, because the logical is to go,
the options are more.
Put the game into 37, but that, like Watford v Everton, could be 34, could be 35. I mean, in theory, they could throw it into 32, although I think that's extremely unlikely at this stage. It could go anywhere. I think there's probably a reluctance to have games in 37. Like it's the last resort thing, I think. What if something goes wrong with a COVID outbreak or something like that, and then there's nowhere for the game to be played? Again, integrity of the league. Do the Premier League want games being played after game week 38? No. They might look at it, for example, and say further down the line, right, well, Chelsea are guaranteed the top 4 place and Leicester have got nothing to play for. Could you play that after game week 38? Maybe you could. But then Leicester might even be involved in Europa Conference League and Chelsea might be involved in Champions League final. And it's like, so when do these games happen? I think currently what we're looking at for game week 36, I think is 10 teams doubling. And I'll run through them as I've got it set up at the moment. So it would be Arsenal, home to Leeds and away to Tottenham. It would be Aston Villa, away to Burnley, at home to Liverpool. Chelsea, home to Wolves, home to Leicester. Crystal Palace, home to Watford, away to Everton. I think that would be quite nice, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where I'm debating now. As you're reading these fixtures, bench boost 33 or bench boost 36, and so I'm looking for teams with cheap players.
Yeah, we'll come back to 33 in a sec, because obviously we know how that's going to look now.
So Palace.
Everton, away to Leicester, home to Palace. Then you've got Leicester themselves, home to Everton, away to Chelsea. Liverpool, home to Tottenham, away to Aston Villa. Manchester City, home to Newcastle, away to West Ham, on the pretense of everything I explained previously. Tottenham, awful double. Liverpool away, Arsenal at home. And finally, West Ham, Norwich away, Manchester City at home. I have 37 in terms of the teams doubling at the moment would look like as follows. Everton, away to Brentford. Home to Brentford, away to Watford. Leicester, away to Watford, home to Norwich. And then therefore that would be back-to-back doubles for both of those two teams, Everton and Leicester. I also have Norwich, away to Wolves, away to Leicester. Watford, home to Leicester, home to Everton. And Wolves, home to Norwich, home to Manchester City. So that would be 5 teams with doubles in 37, and not great, but there would be some variance from 36. Everton and Leicester would probably be back-to-back doubles, whereas Wolves, Watford and Norwich probably wouldn't double the week before. But then is that them? If that's the way it pans out, is that what you want to take the additional free hit for in 37? I'd load up on Wolves players. One of the doubles is Manchester City. Watford, do we really want to go down this route again and go, oh yeah, I'm going to free hit Dennis, King and Cucho in and go with a treble Watford up front. So I think as it stands, 37, not amazing personally. And it's interesting to go back to 33. So we now know the exact layout of the 33 doublers and singlers. But what's really interesting in 33 is those who have the single fixtures from the teams that we probably own are pretty decent. Tottenham at home to Brighton. We've got West Ham at home to Burnley is fine. Liverpool at home to Manchester United is fine. Chelsea at home to Arsenal is difficult, but it's fine if you own them assets. Manchester City now at home to Brighton as well.
United have got a double, but the first half Norwich. I'm just I like Watford at home to Brentford, but then would I play Foster ahead of De Gea when De Gea's got the double? And I'm
just referring to the singlers in terms of those thinking of free hitting 33 or not, and this is an interesting balance. So I'll be honest, my intention right now, and this is a little bit scary, is arguably to go right into 11 doublers in 33. And ignore Liverpool arguably against Manchester United. Ignoring Kane or Son against Brighton is going to be difficult. I think particularly Manchester City team at home to Brighton is potluck as usual in terms of who plays, who doesn't. I think Chelsea against Arsenal is skippable. But in terms of those doubling, yes, exactly what you say. I think United's first game is Norwich at home before playing Liverpool away on the Tuesday. And arguably, because you've got that first, you look at Ronaldo or Fernandes as a captaincy option, arguably just because Norwich at home's the first fixture.
I would rather own Kane for the single game at Brighton at home than Ronaldo for the double.
This is it. And if
question in my mind.
Nico's tutting because he's Portuguese and he won't have bad words said about Ronaldo, but I suggest you go on like US documents online if you've got a problem with that, mate, and do some real Cristiano Ronaldo digging. He's interesting. So if you look at 33, who do we think is best captain in 33? I think that's really interesting. So United got double.
Dan Burn, probably.
Well, Newcastle's double's decent, isn't it? Leicester at home, Crystal Palace at home. You could argue Leicester's is decent as well. Newcastle away, Everton away. But then with them, you've got the complication of what team is Brendan Rodgers going to pick, basically. Southampton you wouldn't put in there. Arsenal at home, Burnley away. My idea, what I'm thinking is at the moment is something like possibly treble Newcastle, treble Leicester, treble United, and then something like Kane and Cancelo or something like that. Maybe is maybe where I'm thinking. I wouldn't say I'm not 100% wed and locked into 33. But that's basically because I think the single game week players that I own, primarily like Liverpool players and Cancelo, I've still got Rudiger, and the Tottenham boys, obviously at home to Brighton, they're decent. There is a danger going against this that, we've just seen it yesterday, what Kane and Son are capable in one game at White Hart Lane, right? There is a danger going against that. I think when it comes round, most people will feel obliged, I think, to captain Bruno or Ronaldo. I think when it comes round in 33, for those who are free hitting, Nico's nodding. Of course, Bruno's Portuguese as well, isn't he? He's not, if you search him in America, it's not so much of a problem as far as I'm aware, mate. What do you think, Suj?
I will highly likely free hit in 33 and bench boost in 36 because with the bench boost, I really want to maximise upside. And then the likes of Liverpool and Spurs having double game weeks in 36 means I can really go more heavily into them, and Chelsea as well. So I think the bigger, better teams have a double in 36, which means bench boosting then with more teams having a double makes more sense. In terms of what my strategy for 33 will then be, how many doublers I go with, is to be seen. But I doubt I will have 11 doublers in 33.
Would you consider, and I will look at this an alternative, and I don't think it will be me because I don't think I'd need to do it if I wanted. Like I have Fraser and Dubravka, right? So I've got De Gea and Dubravka both got doubles in 33.
Yeah.
I mean, I could look to working towards a bench boost now, but then it I probably don't need the wild card to go down that route if I want to. But then I don't have any Leicester. Everton, arguably, I maybe would want something on if I was going that way. Although they don't double in 33, do they? So it's just a single. I probably would do for 36, 37 the back-to-back doubles. So I will look at the idea of a wildcard 32 to set for a bench boost 33. I think the problem with that is you'll probably leave yourself with a team for the remaining 5 game weeks, which is not as great.
Yeah. I'm looking at the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I definitely want to have at least 2 City. Their run-in's very good. I want to have triple Spurs. Your run-in is very good. 4 of your last 5 games are excellent.
Our double is not great, but actually the fixtures
the run-in is
very
good. And so I'm kind of looking at it as if I'm wildcarding in 34, who's got good run-ins? Like, for example, our run-in, for example, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, 3 of the last 5, binnable. I'm looking at it as who's got a good run-in and good doubles. And so I definitely think, 36 for a bench boost works for me. And either side of that, don't get too sucked into these double game weeks. Like Liverpool on current form, I mean, they slapped United, what was it, 5?
Yeah.
You could see the same again, couldn't you? On current form.
With United throwing the towel, yeah.
So, I'm going to try and avoid getting sucked into traps on double game weeks. But we shall see. Like, for example, I'd much rather just go with a Sancho than a Bruno Fernandes, just because financially I feel like I've risked less there, and he's as capable of potentially returning.
I think there are probably 5 teams where we probably can overlook investment because of what they have left in the season. Wolves, I feel like, why are you suddenly going to invest in them now? And they do still have a couple of half decent fixtures left. Villa, Newcastle, Burnley. Their running is a dog. Now, admittedly, 37, they could have that double of Norwich and Manchester City. Leeds, I think, other than the next couple, again, if you're on these assets like Rafinha, it's fine, but I don't think you're probably looking to invest in new. Brighton do not have a good run at all. They also have Norwich next, but I think you're looking to bin Trossard immediately after this next one, aren't you, Suj?
Yeah.
Brentford don't have great fixtures. They have a decent last 3, but again, to highlight what I said earlier about Tony, Newcastle, I think we can look at 33 for 3 hitters, but I think other than 3 hits, it's probably an avoid actually with the fixtures they've got. Like immediately after 33, they've got Norwich 34. That's fine. So I think they're one you can look at now and probably bin on wildcard. Perhaps if you're wildcard in 35, because Newcastle's last 4 include Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal. So you probably look, but Newcastle you could invest in now. If I think your wildcard in 35 is maybe interesting. Like the Bravka and Fraser probably stay for me at the moment. I can see a temptation that will grow for people to look at 33 and wonder if they can bench boost it with what they've got. Particularly those who free hit it in 30 might find that they might land that way. But yeah, Suj, I'm very much of the thinking at the moment that I will wildcard. And I'm leaning towards 35 now rather than 34. Possibly because of what I said with the 2 Newcastle guys I've got and the fixture against Norwich. Wildcard into a possible Chelsea double 35 immediately. Have them for the 36. Get yourself some Leicester and Everton in prep for their back-to-back doubles. And then, as you said, spread it with the rest of what you'd want. Tottenham, Liverpool, City. That's roughly where I'm at thinking-wise. When it comes round, that wildcard at the end, fitting the assets in is going to be tough. And in my mind, I want to do it where I'm not bench boosting with Ben Johnsons and Daniel Amartys of this world. I'd rather go in with more solid stuff, which I think people like Kulusevski and Saka at their pricing allows that to be stronger. Particularly if you're just looking at, say, just Salah and Kane as premiums, maybe.
Yeah. We're going to go through a few questions on Twitter, James. We've been through so many already, and guess what the most...
Can I just say, I'm less confident about this schedule than I was for the one I predicted before, because I do think they might throw some fixtures, like I said, Everton fixtures into that 35, for example, even though they probably don't need to. I mean, 37 could be shocking. In theory, it's possible that no team will double in 37, in theory.
So tell everybody what they've got to look forward to for the rest of the week. and I will find some Twitter questions that are worth the conversation.
Shall do. People's poll vote is out now, Suj, for tomorrow's podcast. Do you know what the topics are?
Yes, sexism, tying yourself to a goalpost, and
those two things are not related.
And what was the third one? Remind me.
Rochdale.
Yes.
Interesting story has been developing at Rochdale Football Club for the last few years, which if Suj has got a spare hour, I'd love him to dive into.
Yeah, it doesn't look likely it's going to win.
No, at the moment it looks like it's going to be either.
Vote for Rochdale.
It's either going to be the pitch invaders. Or sexism.
There was one yesterday, but they got it pretty quick, didn't they?
At Tottenham,
yeah.
Both ends. It was four of them.
Because they, on the TV, they obviously don't show anything. They literally just showed the players.
Yeah.
Because that was when there was the melee, it was the corner, and then the pitch invasion happened at the same time. So you're like, they're just showing the players.
Do you know what was funny about it? Was because obviously it was a little bit, it was some nonsense with Son going down easy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we know.
Is he all right now?
But because all this was
going
on. Is
he all right? I just want to know.
I'm not sure. We got to check on him this morning.
Has he got a yellow flag in FPL?
Zuma, who just kept getting dogs abuse non-stop because it was all happening right there. I mean, some very unsavoury stuff getting thrown his way. Yeah. All above boards, but some nasty words that you probably wouldn't like. Wednesday will be Sky Fantasy Football. Thursday's Clash of Correspondence is Tottenham versus Newcastle with Ricky Saunders and Simon Bibby. I'll be streaming on YouTube Friday, probably 3 p.m. with my Ask James stream, but I will confirm the time later in the week. Patreon pods this week include our Q&A today, a look tomorrow at an interesting tweet I found off the back of the Conspiracy Theories pod we did last week, looking at predictions people think will happen before 2030 in football. We'll have Tottenham Wednesday, quiz Thursday. Friday is a to be confirmed. I need to decide what I'm doing for Talking Tactics this week as well. Good. Sorry, I just decided to enjoy my Sunday too much yesterday.
Nice. Did it involve a kebab?
No.
Well, also, this is wrong. Like, you said to people, come and I'm going to take you on a tour of the lane.
Yeah.
And I said, I hope you're taking these guys to Chick King. And you said no.
So shout out to...
Why?
Shout out to Az.
That's no tour.
Shout out to Az and Lynn, who sat with me for the second half yesterday as well. And shout out to Chris, who came over from New York, who I met in a pub in Tottenham when we played Manchester United. Really nice fella. Yes, I took these guys around Wild Lane. Az and Lynn were late, right? So that caused a little bit of an issue in terms of touring around the ground, but it was a tour of the inside of the stadium, show people around. And Az and Lynn will confirm. I took them by the West Atrium and said, look out there, and by there that is the best fried chicken shop in the world. You will never go to KFC ever again if you eat chicken.
Shani sent a question, what would be your final death row meal? And we've had this question before, and James says Chick King, and he gets the opportunity. It's bullshit, because you get the opportunity to take people there, and he didn't do it. So,
yeah, but you know how long the queue is? It was quicker walking around 3 levels of Tottenham than it would have been to get my fried chicken at that time of day.
Oh dear, right. Some other questions here. Some easy ones that I'll rattle off. Thomas White, a West Ham question for me. He's thinking of getting Ben Johnson for his 5th defender. How long is Soufal out for? Well, he had a groin operation. How long do groin operations take, mate, to recover?
You've had a groin operation?
Nah, have you?
No.
Players
felt like it 4
a few 5 weeks. It's a while, right? It's not a 2 or 3 week job.
I think it can be something that's resolved quite quickly. I'm not sure on the Soufal status, to be honest. But to be honest, with Ben Johnson,
it's 5th defender.
Exactly. It doesn't matter, does it? Why he's available, great. You can play him. The fixtures, let's say Soufal's back in 3-4 weeks. The fixtures afterwards, you're probably not going to want to pick Johnson anyway. So
it's a fair shout.
Yeah, go for it.
We have a lot of chip-related questions that we've covered off, but FPL Quinner, for the patrons, we have a Planet FPL Cup as well as the prize leagues.
Yes.
He wants to know what the prize for winning the cup is, and he's asking for a friend. I'm assuming he's gone through to one of the later rounds.
None of this official website cup bollocks, but our Patreon Champions League is at the last 32 stage. That's £100 to the winner.
Oh, fair play.
So a few of the correspondents are still in that as well. That's going to cause some controversy.
Oh, really?
Seeing that Pringle again. He's smashing it, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's some FPL player, honestly.
Yeah, he is doing particularly well. A lot of chip-related questions here, James.
Is there any that I've not covered?
Nah. Well, the problem is they're all very
vague.
I've got a free hit and a bench boost. What should I do? Or if I've only
Can't
got
answer that.
Yeah, we don't know your team
Can't
or your
answer
squad.
that.
So
I'll tell you what I'm doing at the moment. The plan is still free hit 33. I'm leaning wildcard 35 rather than 34. Bench boost 36. That's where I'm at. For those who don't have the bench boost left, I've spoken about something will probably fall for you. Triple captaincy in 36. That will be better than 33. That's probably where you're going. There are some people going to wildcard now. I think there might be a movement towards the idea of bench boosting 33 because the single game week fixtures for many of the popular assets are quite good. Therefore, you can add in your sprinkling of Newcastle, Leicester, and have a really strong 15 for that week. But I don't intend to do it that way myself. I'm nervous about 33 because I think the right thing to do is to steam into double game week players that I don't necessarily want and get them in and slam them into them for their double, but knowing that a lot of them single game week players could kill.
Yeah. It's definitely not going to be the big variance that we saw this week. Probably.
I think it might be.
Probably.
I think.
As in free hitters, I don't think we'll outscore non-free hitters.
Or in 33. Yeah, but it could do massively. That's the point. If the big name players don't, and then the doublers do well, then yeah, your variance is huge. But I think there is the possibility, and that was for those of us who free hitted this week just gone. Most of the bases were covered, right? Arsenal defensive, Bukayo Saka, Kane and Son. Those were, and probably a little bit of Leicester offensive. That was covered of bases. It was difficult, despite Raul Jimenez's best efforts and Wolves' defensive. It was difficult probably to have a red arrow on a free hit. I've not seen many of them. I'm sure there are some knocking about. But I feel like free hit 33 could be quite dangerous, where if the big name players who have singles do really well, free hitters could get burnt quite badly in that game week. But then risk and reward, right?
So we'll leave it there for this episode of Planet FPL. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you are listening: Apple Podcasts, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify. If you're on the YouTubes, you know what they say: smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get notified when any content goes out, because we do cover off all the fixture chip stuff most shows as and when fixtures are released. Other than that, enjoy your evening, stay safe, look after yourselves, and ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.